What's up? It's your boy Joel Ortiz, and I want y'all to keep it locked right here because y'all watching the real Gully TV. It's official. This ain't no phony business right here. This is Gully TV. You keep it right here. Yawa.
Man, if you tune in to me, you watching Gully TV. Homeboy, we got so much to talk about. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Peace to the world. Big Dubez, Sporty Thieves in the building. Cheapskate, you ain't getting none of no pigeons. Woo! Fuck, I look like why I gotta do this, why I gotta do that. If I don't do this, talk about you whack. You heard?
Appreciate you coming on.
In the building. I appreciate you, Gully.
I did a lot of research in regards to this interview, and I didn't want to focus on the tragedy associated with the group.
But that's a talking point. But
yeah, I didn't want that to highlight the interview. And although it appeared that the Sporty Thief was a brief period in time in hip hop, I just wanted to touch on the depth of and the impact of what y'all did at the time.
Okay, well let's get Brando out the way.
Okay,
right. Let's get Brando out the way.
May 11, 2001.
Unfortunately for us in hip hop, we salute a lot of fallen heroes that have been murdered or, you know what I mean, succumb to tragic deaths and atrocities, this, that, and the third. My man is a hip hop hero. You know what I mean? He passed away saving a little kid from getting hit by a car, took the hit, you know what I mean? And unfortunately succumbed to his injuries. So, you know what I mean? I want to touch on that because salute Marlon Brando Bryant, a hip hop hero.
Right.
We have one. He's a hip hop hero. You know what I mean? And you know, for a certain amount of years, I used to reach out to the certain media outlets, and the radio, this, that, and the third, to make sure they salute Brando. But yeah, moving forward, man, we got a hip hop hero, Marlon Brando Bryant, gave his life saving a young boy coming out of the corner store.
Incredible. Rest in peace to the God.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Super salute. And a super talent.
Right.
And a super talent. Had he been alive today, he would be, I bet dollars to donuts in the echelons of the Fabulouses and the Mazes and all that. He was that type of talent.
Yeah.
Facts.
I want to highlight the fact that y'all was some writing motherfuckers, man. Y'all was writing.
Yeah.
I went and did my homework this morning. I listened to those records, man. Y'all was talking some slick shit.
Well, street cinema. At the time, right? We got our deal in '97, right? At the time, there was a lot going on, and a lot of people talking about a lot of different things. And us being from Yonkers, we initially started out as a 4-man group. First song we did as Sporty Thieves, it was 4 dudes.
Okay.
One dude dropped out, this, and the third. We became a 3-man group. There was already a 3-man group from Yonkers.
Yeah.
So we had to figure out how do we make us fit into this mold. And we came up with the street cinema format, the story format, and we said we're going to make a conceptual street album,
right,
based on stories. And we wrote the shit out of that joint, you know. But you know, the labels at that time, especially back in the '90s, you needed singles. You know what I mean? So you know, that's when we came with the Mac Daddy, the Cheapskate, you know, whatever. But yeah,
music is in your lineage.
Yes.
Could you touch on that briefly?
Dad was a bass player. Had a record deal in 1979 with RCA Records. They put out an album. It didn't do pretty good due to poor marketing and promotion, and that's what it was. But he's always maintained. He was able to maintain being a bass player, doing clubs and this, that, and the third, starting bands, this, that, and the third, orchestrating joints, and you know what I mean. That's his life.
Right.
But you know what I mean. It was already in the blood.
Yeah. When did you fall in love with this culture of hip hop?
As soon as I heard sucker MCs come through them speakers.
Right.
As soon as I heard sucker MCs come through them speakers, Gully, it did something. And from that point on, I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Okay. So when
I didn't know how I was gonna get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Didn't know, whatever the case may be, but I knew that was something that I wanted to do.
All right. Not knowing how you was gonna get there, initially your first foray into hip hop was as a young DJ.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
I didn't even have techniques. I didn't even have 1200s.
Right.
I had like two different I don't even know what they were. You know what I mean? Mom did the best that she could to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, this is what my baby want to do. Let me figure out and try to help them out. They would hand me down turntables and a mixer, and it was something that something that I started, and I wasn't that guy.
Yeah.
I wasn't that guy.
So that's when you decided you wanted to be an MC.
No, I was still pushing forward.
Okay.
I was still pushing forward. Eventually, you know what I mean? I got some techniques. You know what I mean? Eventually, I got a decent mixer, the one with the 4-second sampler on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And dibbled and dabbled with production and all that. Initially, rapping was far from my mind. But, as time progressed, and I started to put words together and just, you know what I mean? I'm watching DMX. I'm watching Bill Blash. And these are at the time, these are local artists from Yonkers. DMX, Bill Blash,
right.
Tribal Move, The Bomb Squad. I lived across the street from Sheep, from the Locks. I lived half a block away from Kiss. I went to high school with Kiss and Styles. Eventually, the Scribbles started coming together.
Was them niggas rappers in high school? Like, was y'all fucking?
Absolutely.
Y'all was fucking with
absolutely.
Y'all in the lunchroom barring it up and shit like that?
Yes. Trading bars.
Yeah.
Trading bars. Still sharp steel.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I actually, I did 2 songs with Kiss and Chic in my house. One we did in the daytime. One I snuck them niggas in the crib, probably about half the block. 2:30 in the morning in my apartment,
right.
Recorded. I got 13 niggas screaming to the mic doing the hook. Oh, looks like a knife with blood. My mom started banging on the fucking door. Are you fucking crazy? I said, we need to hurry up and get this song done.
Right.
Word.
So the landscape in Yonkers at the time was that y'all had a local underground scene.
Super.
Yeah.
Super. My man, I mentioned Tribal Move. Deshaun from Tribal Move was one of the stars in the movie Zebrahead.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember that joint.
I remember the name.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Waves was happening.
Right.
Waves was happening. Things were moving.
Did it ever cross your mind that the Warlocks, who would later be known as the Locks, would make the impact that they made in hip hop?
Absolutely.
You seen it in them?
And them and DMX were standouts.
Yeah.
Standouts. It wasn't no clue, you know what I mean? It wasn't no clue. There was something in the water, and I'm glad that, you know what I mean? I'm glad I came from that water.
Yeah.
It was something in the water at that time, bro. And yeah, it wasn't much of a secret. It was just timing.
Yeah. Until today, when I did my research, I didn't know that y'all was from Yonkers.
A lot of people.
Why isn't the Sporty Thieves associated with Yonkers?
Good question.
Yeah.
I would love to have an answer for that. I couldn't tell you. A lot of people thought we was from Cali, because of the content that we were talking about. Females, this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought we was from Cali. A lot of people thought we was from down south. It's weird. It's weird. But yeah, YO all day.
One of the first records that caught my attention was a song called Cheapskate.
Nada.
Yeah. Can't get nada from us.
Rest in peace to Roy Ayers.
Yeah.
We actually sampled that record.
Is that right?
We sampled the original sample to Cheapskates is Roy Ayers' Life Is Just a Moment Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we were in the studio and Ski put the record, he's put the needle on that record and it starts like that. Na 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 na. I'm like, ooh, na na na. And I started, you ain't getting nada from us.
Right.
And my partner Kurt said, that's it. That's it. Came up with the hook right there.
Right.
We wrote our verses, and organically, that's how great records come together.
Right.
Nice and organically.
Did it catch fire right away? I liked that joint. I believe I start hearing that joint on Rap City or something like that.
The problem with Cheapskate was Columbia chose not to release it as a single. They just put the album out. They actually just rushed us because they had Lauren coming.
Okay.
I wasn't really happy about it. I didn't like what was going on. Back then you had mom and pop stores. Mom and pop record stores are non-existent at this point. But you had the big chain stores, but you still had mom and pop record stores. And Cheapskate actually took us across the country.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And every mom and pop store we went to, they would be like, yo, why they didn't release the single? Back then, CDs was $16, $17.
Yeah.
People weren't really spending that type of money on a whole album based off one song. Had Columbia put Cheapskate out as a single, we might have had a different trajectory.
Right.
Possibly, but we would just, to be honest with you, and from my personal opinion, we never was supposed to pop. We was just a budget. You know what I mean? At that time, record labels were signing people and then shelving them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? To make them a tax write-off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that was probably our trajectory.
Right.
We just happened to be a legitimate group.
So even though Cheapskate wasn't selected to be a single, basically.
Well, it wasn't. It was selected as the single.
Yeah.
They put vinyl out, but they didn't release it as the single. They just put the album out.
Yeah. So people watch our album and basically gravitated towards the song.
People really didn't buy the album. We went double wood when the album came out.
Yeah.
But the fanfare was, we love Cheapskate.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because like I said, we toured the whole country off the record.
Right.
The BDS, you know what BDS is?
That's the Spins, right?
Yeah, the Spins said it was a legitimate hit.
Right.
Columbia just, they was worried about Lauren. And I didn't understand it. When the album came out, then I was like, oh shit, okay. I understand a little bit more.
Right.
You know what I mean? That misunderstanding was a monster.
Yeah.
But at that time, and this being my life, this being my dream and my passion, I didn't understand it.
Right. Who selected the name Sporty Thieves for y'all?
King Kurt.
Okay.
Salute to my partner, King Kurt.
Sporty Thieves. Yeah. Spinoff, of course, of the 40 Thieves.
Yes.
Right. And I wanted to know how and why did y'all end up becoming this group that did these rebuttal records? How did that start?
Rebuttal records was never in our repertoire. This is the dopest story, right? Funkmaster Flex. We was trying to get at Flex. We had Cheapskate out. We was trying to get at Flex. You know what I mean? Trying to get him to play the record.
Yeah.
The labels doing shit, and you know what I mean? You know, trying to soften them up, whatever the fuck they could do. Flex is not touching the record. Next thing I know, I get a call from my manager. Yo, Flex wants you in his office. Well, not just me personally, but the group. Wants the group in his office. Okay. What the fuck Flex want? And you know, us being from New York, we were kind of jaded. You know what I mean? Our BDS record spins would have great numbers all across the country, and then New York would be like 2. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? We was kind of jaded. We go see Flex, and Flex keeps it 1,000. He's like, listen, my bad. I fucked up. I slept. I was just in Philly last night. You know, Flex doesn't DJ when he goes to events. He don't DJ the whole party. Flex may come on at 12 or 1 o'clock when the party's right.
Right.
He said, yo, the DJ before me, the last record he played was Cheapskate, and he played it twice, and he tore it down. He said, I was sick because I didn't even have that record in my grade.
Yeah.
Fuck my life.
It was something jiggy about that record, and I believe y'all caught the ending of people getting on the dance floor. Did that have something to do with the popularity of that record?
I don't know about the club part. I know Cheapskate was embraced because at that time in climbing the hip hop, you had Mace and Jay talking about taking you to Turks and Caicos and this, that, and the third, blah, blah, blah. Rappers talking about this, and we came out of nowhere talking about you ain't getting nada, not even $1, which what call us broke names, call it whatever you want to call it, but the average dude related to that more than this extravagant shit that a lot of niggas was talking.
Yeah.
So I think that's what gravitated dudes to the record.
Okay.
Back to Flex.
Right.
Flex is like, yo, a lot of people think my ears burnt, which it probably is. This is Flex talking.
Yeah.
A lot of people think my ears burnt, I don't know what's hot, this, that, and the third, With this Cheapskate record, y'all seem to have a niche with talking to women.
Yeah.
We got this Scrub record. I want y'all to do a rebuttal record.
It was his suggestion?
Hold on. And I want to make this clear.
Yeah.
There was a dude named DJ THRU, and he had an MC, Mr. Woods, that submitted a record to Flex called No Vultures. Trash.
Yeah.
Trash.
Right.
Mr. Woods, trash. Flex, and yeah, I'm taking a shot.
Right.
Flex had got the idea from that record. Yo, I know y'all can make something fire, but I can't totally neglect these niggas, so we need to put this Mr. Woods nigga on the record. So for the real Sporty D fans, they know the initial pressing, not the commercial pressing, but the initial pressing, independent pressing of No Pigeons included Mr. Woods, who was on the end of the record.
Okay. Was he in a video?
No.
All right.
Because Columbia, it was Columbia's decision to cut him off the record.
Right.
Pigeons was Funkmaster Flex.
Okay. That's a great revelation.
Funkmaster Flex. Salute my guy.
So y'all decided to basically challenge a juggernaut at the time, TLC.
We didn't care about that. Yo, Gully, I'm gonna tell you what's crazy, right? We were not looking nationally. We were just looking at New York.
Yeah.
And making a fun record.
Yeah.
We had no clue what that record was gonna do.
Right.
Let's say we gave the record to Flex on a Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And he started blasting it and started gaining traction. By that Thursday, it was #1 on Hot. And he had Whitney Houston up there.
Yeah.
He's like, Whitney, I'm gonna play, this is the #1 record in New York right now. I'm gonna play it for you when we come back. I want to get your thoughts on it.
Right.
And when they came back, she quoted my verse. She said, yo, that's crazy. You only walk pigeon toe because your shoes are small. Yo, my dude, I was on top of the world. Whitney Houston just quoted one of my lines.
Right.
You couldn't tell me nothing.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell me nothing. #1 record at Hot. About 3 weeks later, now mind you, we was about to get dropped from Columbia before this record dropped.
Right.
We came out at the same time with Lord Tariq and Peter Guns and John Forte. We were all in the same era. We was all on the same promo tours, all that. We watched Lord Tariq and Peter Guns come up, come down, drop. We watched John Forte come up, come down, drop. And we were the next. We was next on next in line.
Yeah.
Columbia had no idea. Sony had no idea we was coming with Pigeons. So, like I said, Monday, Flex dropped it. By Thursday, it's #1 on Hot. Maybe 2 weeks later, it's #1 record in the country.
Okay. All right. Now y'all got this dope record that started out regional. Was it regional to begin with?
Absolutely.
All right. Who was the videographer? Because the video took that shit to another level. Because I was locked up at the time, and that shit was on Total Request Live.
Jesse Smith.
What's his name?
Jesse Smith. Jesse Smith. Jesse Smith. He's done a couple of videos. We actually fought for him to be the videographer.
Okay.
For that.
I was going to point that out because y'all had some very unique videos that kind of went along with the music, and during this time they was doing this style that had like the bug out lens.
Absolutely. Everything was the bug out.
How effective was that for you guys? The video took that shit somewhere else. Like,
well, I think J. Jesse Smith listened to us. Took our feelings of what we wanted the video to look like and brought it to life. And then I think, the cameos that we had in Pigeons helped it out. A lot of people don't know, Pun pulled up on us.
Yeah.
9 o'clock in the morning. They were just setting up the cameras.
Yeah.
Pun pulled up ready to get into the video. He pulled up with like 3 Benzes.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, I love y'all niggas. What y'all need?
Yeah.
Y'all need jewelry, bitches, cars, what's up? We like, no, Pun, we just need a cameo.
Yeah.
But they were still setting up the cameras. He sat around for about 45 minutes, and we probably with the homie, you know what I mean? But, you know what I mean? He had to go and do other things. That's why Pun wasn't in the video. But surprisingly for me, and I didn't know so much of the industry knew that we were shooting that video.
Right.
You know what I mean? But a lot of people came out. The only cameo that I put in play was Eve.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I had a decent rapport with Eve, and we were shooting one of the scenes, the beauty parlor scene on 135th. She was actually walking in the beauty parlor. I'm like, yo, E, what's good? Why you dressed like that? I'm thinking she, you know what I mean? I'm thinking she coming for the video. She was like, nah, dude, I'm here to get my hair done. So I'm like, yo, we shooting pigeons. Yeah. She was like, what? Nigga, you got my number. Let me go get right. And, you know what I mean? Yeah. Holler at me and let me know when the next shoot is. You know what I mean? Salute to E for that.
I noticed that Guru was in one of y'all videos too. Right.
Pigeons.
That was Pigeons?
Yes.
All right, that stood out to me. That's one of my favorite rappers. That stood out to me like a motherfucker. Just going like, damn, Guru
was a great guy. We did the majority of the first album in D&D.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Which is another staple of hip hop. You know what I mean? I actually, you know, I played pool with Jay in D&D. You know what I mean? Met a lot of different, you know what I mean? Met a lot of different people in D&D. Yeah. But yeah, we had a great rapport with Guru. There was DOS effects. There was a nice amount of camp. A lot of people showed out.
Right. What type of response did y'all get directly from TLC? I know they said something to you niggas.
Nothing.
They never even acknowledged it.
I mean, they have a documentary out on Netflix. Yeah. That, you know, they had to address us and actually showed us. You know what I mean? Showed us in the documentary. Yeah. But at that moment, silence. Right. But for what? The bigger our record got, the bigger their record got. Yeah. The bigger their record got, the bigger our record got.
Right. I'm pretty sure somewhere along the line, maybe on television or maybe in a club, they had to play y'all back to back. They had to play No Scrubs, which was a hit, and they had to follow it up with y'all.
MTV and BET did it.
Okay.
That's what it eventually became.
Yeah. In order for it to make sense. Right. I seen with my own eyes. Y'all was on TRL.
Eventually, my dude, when the first, seeing Kirk Loder. Yeah. Yeah. Talk about, yo, Sporty Thieves is about to shoot no pictures. I'm like, hey, yo, really? This is what we doing? Yeah. Okay. You know, those were pivotal moments for a nigga.
Yeah. You know, that was like y'all almost made like a hip hop pop record.
Kinda.
When I seen that shit on TRL,
number one on hip hop R&B, I think for 6 weeks. Number one, and I think the same thing for number one rap. Yeah. Billboard, I think for 6 weeks.
Right. So, at some point, somebody got the bright idea like, this shit can work for us. At which point y'all did another record. Another rebuttal record, correct?
I was reluctant to do that record. Beyonce, well, first of all, shout out to Trackmasters. Yeah. Shout out to Tony Pope. We have an official remix that was supposed to be on Destiny's Child's second album, Bills, Bills, Bills. You can look it up on YouTube. It's a Bills, Bills, Bills remix with Destiny's Child. There's a girl Jazz on the front rapping. Actually, 50 Cent wrote her verse. Mm-hmm. When we got to the studio to record it, 50 was in there writing. He was like, yo, I'm coming at y'all niggas. We looking at them like, what? You know what I mean? He was like, nah, I'm writing a verse for Shorty, this, that, and the third. Da, 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 da. So, you know, we have an official Bills, Bills, Bills remix. For whatever reason, Columbia decided to not put it on the album. But what they did was make it the first, I think, 100,000 copies of an album that went out. It was a promotional CD with that. And then we eventually, after Pigeons started to die down, a lot of DJs and people wanted us to keep that theme going. Yeah. We were a little bit too talented for that. Yeah. Self-produced group. Shout out to my man King Kirk. He did half the album. He produced half the album. A Street Cinema. Ski did the other half. And then once Ski taught me how to learn the MPC, it was quiet from there. With me and Kirk both being producers,
Right.
You know what I mean? We knew that we were more talented than that, but the masses wanted us to keep the thing going.
Yeah.
Destiny's Child come out with independent men and
independent ladies.
Whatever. Independent women.
All right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. Records.
All right.
And you know, my guys thought it was a bright idea to remix it, and I was adamantly against it. We don't need to do it.
You felt y'all was going down into y'all was going into
a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
A rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I didn't, you know what I mean? We don't need that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Especially with our first single was Cheapskate, which was bona fide.
That was some
single.
That was some street shit.
Yeah. But it was a bona fide single.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we have the power to make these things.
Yeah.
But you know, after a while, it took them about a month to get me on the record, and we wound up doing Independent Men, which did absolutely nothing.
Right.
Which I knew it was going to do.
Right. You think people started to view it as like a once it turned it, because some of y'all videos had a level of comedy or sarcasm in it.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? All right. Do you think people started?
John Forte was in our first video. John Forte was in Cheapskates. A lot of people don't even know that.
Okay.
John Forte, in the beginning of the Cheapskate video, John Forte comes to the car asking Kirk if he wants him to fucking squeegee the window.
Sure did.
That was John Forte.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Shout out to salute John, love. That's my guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? I forgot where you.
It kind of like was taking on the. Some of y'all videos had a level of comedy or sarcasm,
and that was us, because that was the street cinema part of it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We had to put out singles.
Yeah.
But you know, like I said, the album was a story format based album. You know what I mean? So we was just trying to tie things in as much as we could. You know what I mean? With Dylan, that album was actually an underground album. Source rated it 3.5 mics. I think we got a L. I think we got an L and XXL. Later on in the year, Source rated it one of the most underrated albums of the time.
Yeah. Because
it was you know, it wasn't promoted properly, which meaning it wasn't received properly.
Okay. I knew that once it started to appear.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I say that to say, we had two different, and we still have two different fans. A lot of people that loved us for Pigeons,
mm-hmm.
we still had this underground core street cinema following.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which was two different fan bases. You got to understand, you had Raucous Records and,
yeah.
You know what I mean? All that at that time. Hip-hop fans was real fickle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you was, and you can possibly categorize us as backpack rappers if you want. You know what I mean? Based on the street cinema, conceptual, whatever. And then we just out of nowhere go through the stratosphere on this side. You know what I mean? We had two totally different fans.
I agree with that. Because when y'all first came out, I believe that y'all was received as a legitimate underground trio.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
And I just knew that once the music started to almost take on like a Weird Al Yankovic, because that's who was doing that shit in the 80s. Mm-hmm. I said to myself, I don't know how long they gonna be able to keep this up. It was almost like y'all,
and we didn't want to do that.
Yeah,
we didn't want to do that. Pigeons, like I said, Pigeons was just something we were in the dumps. Lord Tariq, Peter Guns, gone. John Forte, Fuji's. Shh, gone. We next on the chopping block. We in mid descent coming down to get out of here.
Yeah.
And we didn't do that record in desperation to you know what I mean, save ourselves. We did that record because we knew that was us and some funny shit that we could do that was dope for New York. With absolutely no intention on that shit going where the fuck it went.
Yeah. What were some of the high profile platforms that y'all performed No Pigeons on?
We had our own Ricky Lake show.
I think I seen that.
We had our own Ricky Lake show. The Pigeon Pageant. Shot it 2 days. That was my realization that television is bullshit. Because Sporty Thieves Pigeon Pageant, you got all of these females. We should be able to choose who we think is the pigeon.
Yeah.
They already had the pigeon selected.
Scripted. Yeah.
That's when I knew television was bullshit.
Right.
Jenny Jones, we did a couple of award shows. We saw some heights.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing y'all on those talk shows for sure. And shocked that y'all was on there. Like,
We saw
you know what I mean? Them shows was kind of messy back then and shit.
We were supposed to do, they wanted us to be the first episode. Remember when Queen Latifah came out with her talk show?
I believe I remember briefly.
She came out with a talk show. They wanted us to be the first episode, and I talked to the producers, and they was asking me questions, and I was giving them some stories, this, that, and the third, and they was like, "Oh, well, do you think you could get the female?" I was like, "Oh, whoa, no, we not doing no expose type shit.
Right.
We're not doing that. Not happening." And Ricky Lake tried to do that with us, actually. A couple of the females, my counterparts, Brando and Kurt, invited a couple of the girls to the studio.
Mm-hmm.
That's, like I said, we filmed for 2 days. The first day, they invited a couple of the girls to the studio. I wasn't there yet. Once I get in the studio and I see the girls from the Ricky Lake show in there, I snap. All of y'all, get the fuck out of here.
This ain't no joke. Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. My man's in there like, yo, what the fuck? Yo, nigga, this the... I'm not taking no chances. Get the fuck out of here. Lo and behold, the very next day when we shooting the second part, Ricky Lake comes in our dressing room and said, which one is the smart one? The bitches was white.
Are you serious?
Facts.
Wow.
Which one is the smart one? Me. Yeah, them bitches was white.
I said them shows was messy. I just said that. I used to watch them shows and shit.
And they was really trying to cook niggas.
Yeah.
They was trying to cook niggas.
Right.
I'm glad that I you know what I mean, did what I did.
Intuition. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tell me how you guys got involved with Ski Beats. Because I used to always hear Rock a Block on Jay-Z's.
Rockefeller.
On Jay-Z songs and shit like that. When I looked into you guys' bio, I seen Rock a Block, you know.
Yes.
So explain.
Shopping around. Trying to find the best option that fit us. We ran into Ski. I had somewhat of an early relationship. Darian Dash, Stacey Dash's brother, was the CFO of Rock a Block. And I had somewhat of a little relationship with him from back in the days. And we wound up, coming across their desk, and they were a brand new label. We had a couple of other labels that were interested in us, but they had a roster already. Rock a Block was free and clear. And we chose to go with Rock a Block, one, because we respected Ski's production, and two, wasn't much in front of us. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We knew that we would actually have a shot at, coming out and having a commercial release.
Yeah.
So that was, you know what I mean, that's what it was.
Another reason I knew you guys was legitimate MCs was y'all affiliation with Raucous Records. I seen y'all name back in the magazines affiliated with Raucous some type of way. Explain how y'all got down with Raucous Records, which was the inspiration behind my album series. I tried to recreate Raucous Records literally.
The affiliation with Raucous Records came. Let me try to be as accurate as possible. Half of our management team, Chris, I believe was connected with Black Sean, who was connected with Raucous, and I know we did a couple of songs with Shabam Sadiq, Salute Bam, yeah. Love My Brother, and I believe that's where our affiliation with Raucous came from.
Yeah, I was on a project called Hip Hop for Respect. What was that about?
Oh, that was fucking awesome. That was fucking awesome. Amadou Diallo, African gentleman pulling out his wallet and got shot 41 times.
Yeah.
By police. Mos Def put a call out for the hip hop industry to pull up, you know what I mean, and do a song. It's crazy because early that morning we had actually did Ed Love and Dr. Dre that morning, and went straight to Sony Studios. We talked with Mos, and we had an ill conversation with Mos, and at the end of the conversation, Mos said, "Yo, it's gonna be a long day, but y'all are gonna be on the final version of this record. So I just need y'all to stick it out for me."
Right.
And we pretty much sat in Sony Studios for about 20 hours. Damn near the whole record industry showed up. Rest in peace Rico from Organized Noise. He's the one that produced the track. And it was a dope ass day. I think the final version that came out was Rod Digger, my third cousin, salute. Rod Digger, Cool G Rap, us, Shabam Sadiq, Pasta Noose from De La, Pharaoh Monch, Mos, Talib, and I might be forgetting one more person.
All elites. Yeah.
Yes. Dope session, dope video.
No doubt.
After the passing of Marlon Brando, that affected pretty much put the group, that ended the group, right?
But I wouldn't say it ended the group. It was crippling.
Yeah.
It was crippling. We weren't, people was talking about get another member, and I'm like, get another member? How? We not no fucking Destiny's Child. We not no manufactured group.
Right.
We can't replace my brother like that. Like, you know what I mean? We were brothers.
Right.
It hurt, and it was hard to come back from. We were behind the scenes. What stagnated us was we were trying to get out the deal. You know what I mean? We were before Brand passed, we were negotiating getting out of the deal with Rock a Block. Once Brand passed, they started talking about, let's do a greatest hits, or you know what I mean? They wanted to try to profit off his passing, which we were totally against.
Right.
So a lot of the stagnation from Sporty Thieves at that moment was actually bureaucracy of trying to get out of a deal. We had another deal in place, actually a very lucrative deal in place that Rock a Block unfortunately blocked.
Okay.
Not Ski. You know what I mean? I can't include Ski in that fold, but
Yeah.
the workings of Rock a Block made sure that didn't happen.
Okay. So during this period, you started to put more emphasis on your production skills and being a producer, correct?
Yeah. You know, took a little hiatus. My man called me and said, "Yo, we should open a studio." And I was like, Pro Tools was new, you know what I mean?
Right.
Really wasn't, you know. I was like, you know what, fuck it. Went to Barnes and Nobles, bought a Pro Tools book, read the Pro Tools book, we opened a studio. I was as versed as I could be in Pro Tools, and started rocking and rolling. And it was lucrative for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Opening the studio, having a name in the industry, and having expertise with music, you know, people gravitated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Outside of, you know, most artists smoke weed, so, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Having some green on deck for niggas, you know what I mean? It was a dope environment.
Okay.
It was a dope environment.
After the studio, you chose to go back to school.
Yes.
What was
Tried to do something.
You went to a school for music and film production. What was that experience like?
It was goofy. It was goofy. I had dropped out of high school in 11th grade. So, you know, you fast forward how many years later, I'm back in the school setting with you know, kids. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't like super duper grown, but you know what I mean? It was a weird experience, but I took it for everything that it was. You know what I mean? And I poured myself into it. I sucked all my professors dry. I did not complete college because, you know, I got everything that I needed to get and got out of there. You know what I mean?
Okay, so after music started to transfer over to the social media age, you went and found something else to do, fashion.
Yes.
What sparked you to go over into the fashion world?
Fashion has always been a thing of mine. My mom got fresh.
Right.
My dad got fresh. Mom kept me fresh. Mom kept me different fresh though. Like, you know what I mean? I had the Azaz and the Tigras and all that, but you know, mom was. I had Tommy Hilfiger in my closet and didn't even know it was Tommy.
Yeah.
Way before Tommy was popular. But yeah, once the music started to subside, I was looking at. Actually, I started my brand. I'm an avid poker player. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Which obviously means I'm a gambler, and I had lost probably about $2,600, maybe $3,000 within 2 hours playing poker. And I ran to my crib and I went in the shoebox and I was about to go get some more bread and go back to the poker game. And I said, you know what? Stop, no and don't. This is your startup money.
Yeah.
This is your startup money. What the fuck are you doing?
Right.
What the fuck are you doing? And 4 months later, a store in the Bronx for you caps that I'm known to spend a certain amount of money in, I wound up leaving out of there with a check.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. These are actually, my dude, these are for you. These are dead stock.
Yeah.
These are dead stock. Lavish Habits, a lot of people seen this, you know what I mean, in the Bronx and Harlem. This ran up numbers.
Okay.
But this South Beach piece, classic.
Love the colorway. You see what I'm wearing.
Classic. Yeah. I got this from Future. when he put that tweet out with the shorty.
Yeah.
She tried to come for him online. He hit her with the "I'm good, love, I'm good."
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Well, you know what I mean? I put out a lot of pieces, man. I most recent. Well, the name of the brand is OBSOB. OBSOB. It stands for One Bad Son of a Bitch.
Right.
One day I'm designing. I'm listening to Biggie, and that's when Rob Vanish came back speaking Spanish. Lavish habits, 2 rings, 20 carats.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, lavish habits. That's kind of fly.
Yeah.
That's what spawned this.
Got it.
That's what spawned this.
Right.
What makes this so dope, and what people didn't understand, what gravitated to this is actually the Hermes font.
Okay.
I did the trick. I did the mind trick. I knew Lavish Habits was already going to be flavor, but the font is actually the Hermes font.
Something that people would identify with.
Visually.
Yeah.
Got him.
Gifted in Black.
Became one of my best sellers.
No doubt.
But like I said, the brand is OBSOB. The brand wasn't Lavish Habits. A lot of people, so many people thought the brand was Lavish Habits, but it wasn't. It was just one of my best sellers. I could have kept it going.
Yeah.
Most recently, I think maybe 2 or 3 years ago, Unsolved Mysteries. Remember that from back in the day?
It's my show. I love it. Robert Scott.
They came back and put a joint out on Netflix.
Yeah.
One of their episodes was a black dude who was a fashion designer. His brand was Lavish Habits, and this girl killed him. So when I saw that, I said, you know what? I just gotta
get out the way.
Leave Lavish alone. Leave Lavish alone.
Right.
But in 2025, I'm relaunching. Got a lot of dope shit coming.
Yeah, it's a lot of money online for clothing, man. Everything I'm wearing right now, this is my shit. So.
Yeah, I'm here for some PA knits, nigga.
I got you, see?
I'm here for some PA knits. I'm here.
We exchanging gifts today, so.
That's what's up.
What brought you here today is you just appeared in my comments. Like,
absolutely.
Yo, man, I need to get on that PILLMATIC 2. PILLMATIC 3.
3.
And when I seen who it was, I'm like, damn, nigga, I didn't know you was following me, man. Of course you can get on the album.
Absolutely.
The question is, do you still get busy? That's the question, man. It's nothing but killers on PILLMATIC, man. I know that you feel that you're a rapper, and maybe you might feel like it's like riding a bike, and I get all of that. But can you kill?
Where I'm from, ain't no such thing as Wakanda, but a Dewey in the Blick had me sitting in Gowanda. The whole biz had ponder, had to crush them when it come out. Give you niggas pain till I blow a fucking lung out. God did not work, release it probably wouldn't work for me. I need to get my fat ass in the shack with the Hercules. Nah, I need to fine tune how to get this 9 bath, 9 rooms without boofing or balloons. I kicked it with the thinkers, I make it with the goons. Homies moving different, something finna get boom. Gotta trust your nigga senses in them barbed wire fences. I know a nigga capping how it filled out his dentures. Ain't no 48 in me. Said you rented up in the town, but you begging old bitches for a vacancy. Dumb, nice, blatantly. Broke, get away from me. Wipe your mouth, bitch. I can see that you ain't wait for me. PILLMATIC 3, nigga.
No doubt. No doubt.
On deck.
So what you on deck. You still got your dribble right. What you been doing, man? What you been doing, man?
A lot of producing. A lot of producing, a lot of writing, a lot of producing, a lot of recording. I've become as far as music wise, I've become a recluse. You know what I'm saying? I got like 3 albums in the fucking hard drive.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I most recently lost my little brother, my only brother, back in September, and you know, he would always be the driving force. Like, yo, bro, why are you holding on to this shit? Let this shit go.
Yeah.
Let this shit go. Let this shit go. So, you know, to honor him, and that's actually something Brando would have also said to me, dudes, what you doing? Let this shit go. So 2025, you know what I mean? I'm not looking for no super duper nothing. What I'm looking for is just to put some dope shit out. You like it, you like it. You don't, you don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's it. I'm producing. I'm working with Geechee from Camp Low. Working with Tresh from Naughty by Nature. Did a song. I did a song with Tresh and Ice-T. Just working.
Yeah.
Back outside.
Yeah. Do you understand that the way that the internet is set up now, that you got a legitimate shot, probably a bigger shot now than you did when you was signed? And what I mean by that is the way that Instagram and YouTube and Twitter and all of that, TikTok is connected. A person is printing direct-to-garment shirts and can rap. You can sell that shit head over fist. In this day and age.
You gotta fall into the right algorithm.
Yeah.
Once you fall into the right algorithm,
Yeah.
sky's the limit.
This is one hell of a start.
This is the start.
Right.
No, this is not one hell of a start.
Yeah.
This is the start.
Right.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I could have been a couple of different places.
Right.
But I said, you know what? I respect this man. I've been watching this man for years.
I had no idea.
I've been watching this man for years. Even Jack J. Pimp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's up, Pimp?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just a lingo,
even
man.
Jack J. Pimp.
It's funny you
know what I
said
mean?
that, right? Because I'm starting to when people speak to me, they speak to me in my language and shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like
I'm just keeping it 100, my nigga. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, yo, what's good, Pimp?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in my head, I'm like, oh shit, I'm watching this fucking nigga Gully too much.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But that's what it is, bro. Real recognize real. I'm here. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the look.
Yeah.
And hopefully this is gonna do. You know, I haven't said nothing salacious and none of that. So I'm not trying to go viral because I'm not with none of that. I don't understand. It's a lot of dudes from my era and even before me that's doing the most online.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. But that's not me.
Yeah.
And that's neither here nor there.
Right.
What I'm here to do is promote myself, what I got, what I'm doing, and some dope ass fucking music that's coming your way, man. Go have some fun.
That's what's up.
We have some fucking fun. Because that's one thing that we brought to the game. You know what I mean? That's one thing that we brought to the game, and it's kind of missing. You know what I mean? That element of hip hop is kind of missing. No one has yet to fill that void that we opened up of having fun.
Right.
East Coast wise, shout out to La Russell. He's having fun over there.
And getting money.
He's having fun over there on the West Coast. On this side, nobody's having fun. Everybody's mad and want to kill each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've noticed from traveling and being in different regions, different parts of the United States, it's definitely a difference in people when you leave away from the East Coast.
Absolutely.
The East Coast niggas is serious and, I don't know, angry and feel that they gotta compete and shit like that.
Absolutely.
When you get to traveling and meeting niggas be trying to help each other and niggas be polite and shit. On the East Coast, niggas ice grilling and shit like that. and arrogant as a motherfucker and shit. Like, man, why you think you such a big shot, man? You ain't got no product out here on the market, man. What the fuck is going on? Yeah.
To each his own, man, and whatever works for people works for people. I'm not no one to judge or nothing. Do you?
Yeah.
Do you? Whatever works for you, man. But at the end of the day, this is hip hop. It has many facets. For the most part, what I can say for anyone that does this hip hop shit, if you love it, have fun with it.
Yeah.
Have fun with it. That's it.
Dubez, I appreciate you taking this trip.
I appreciate being here, nigga.
I'm looking forward to you tearing this album up, man. It means a lot to me.
Oh no, that verse I just said, that's going on there. That's already that verse is already laid. Okay. I gotta finish the hook.
That's what's up. So
I gotta finish the hook.
I got Illa G on the joint. I got Elo on the joint. I got Iborn on the joint. I got Big Dubez on the joint. Looking for a few more legends, man, to put this thing together again.
I can't take the legend status yet, but I appreciate it.
When I use that title, and I like to say that I built my company on the backs of legends, these are people whose name was spoke by guys like Kurt Loder. You think I'm saying?
Yeah. No. One thing that I can say that a lot of niggas can't say is I'm a household name. I got a song with Beyonce.
Speaking of Beyonce,
a lot of niggas can't say that.
You referred to as Destiny's Child, and you also said that you came in the office one day and 50 Cent was in there writing a verse about y'all. Mm-hmm. Did you foresee these people, because she was Destiny's Child when y'all was involved, did you see these people going to the heights that they ended up taking?
Absolutely.
Taking it to?
Absolutely, because I saw the mechanic. When you're in the labels, right? If we cared about our career, we just didn't have much legs to stand on.
Right.
But that didn't take away from us being in that label trying to see who's who and what's what, this, that, and the third. And when you see the inner workings, you see, okay, yup. And then being able to work with these people and see the star power, you're able to say, yup, I see it.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
You ready, Nick? Let's get him.